Hello everyone, welcome to SI UK India webinar. Thank you for joining us today. We are now live with Pearson PTE. Today we have with us Amit and Diarrhea, who will let us know more about this special webinar session. Over to you, Amit.
Thank you, Deepika. Hi, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you. And thank you for taking out the time and being with us here today. I must thank SI UK for putting this session together and allowing us an opportunity for me and Daria to be able to interact with you today and bring some good information that may help you in taking the right decisions to achieve your study abroad aspirations. As I said, my colleague Daria is going to take you through a lot of, lot about PTE Academic today. But before that, I will cover some basics about PTE. Daria, could we move on to the next slide, please? So in today's session, we are going to cover the basics of PTE Academic Test, what PTE Academic Test is all about, where are we accepted, how should you go about booking the examination, test center, what to expect there, and a few other basics as well. Also, Daria would be covering a lot about how you can achieve the score you need. Now, you might want to listen very carefully to her. That might be very useful to you. We are also going to understand a bit about how the PTE Academic scoring works. Now, if you're not aware, PTE Academic is a completely AI-based examination. It's a computer-based, computer-delivered, and computer-assessed examination in very simple terms. Daria is going to throw some light on how the scoring is going to work. Also, we are going to cover how you can prepare well and achieve your desired scores so that you can apply to the universities where you are aspiring to study in one of the programs. Next slide, please. Okay, what is PTE Academic? PTE Academic is a computer-based language test that provides the most unbiased and secure proof of a candidate's English skill for university, profession, and migration applications. Computer-based, AI-backed, most unbiased because there is no human intervention. Secure because we've got a very secure testing system at our test centers. Your scores come in your secure portal, which is completely assigned to you only. And from there itself, you assign your scores to the universities and border agencies where you're planning to go. Next slide, please, Daria. Okay, a bit of snapshot on what PTE Academic is in India. We've got a growing network of 37 secure test centers across the country. We keep adding more where there is demand. But wherever you would like to take a test, please hop onto our portal. Try to find out which is the test center nearest to you and book a test at your convenience there. Okay, in 2020, and it was a great year for PTE when we were approved for all type of UK visa categories. That also includes the UKVI, visa and immigration visas. But for study purposes, let me assure you that 99% of UK universities accept PTE scores, and the border agency has equal trust in the scores that PTE gives you. Also, in 2021, we achieved another landmark when University of Oxford started accepting PTE. Now, University of Oxford does not really deserve any mention. One of the best universities in the world, known for its research and the highest quality programs that are run at the campus. Next slide, please. Here is a snapshot of where else we are accepted. So as I mentioned, 99% of the universities in UK accept PTE Academic. We are accepted for all UK visa categories, and we are also accepted for the prestigious Chevening scholarships. So if you would like to apply for one, you can use PTE scores to apply for those. In Canada, we are accepted by 90% of the universities. In USA, 2,000 plus institutions, including some of the Ivy League institutions, such as Harvard Business School and Yale. We are also accepted for Fulbright scholarships there. We've got 100% acceptance across Australia and New Zealand, all visa type categories. And there are various other countries that accept us across Europe and Southeast Asia. Next slide, please. Okay, now a bit for you to know of what it means to take a PTE examination at one of our test centers. First things first, you should arrive well in time for the examination. We propose that you arrive 30 minutes before the scheduled test time so that you can go through the administrative procedures, and get your passport checked, biometric scans done, and also submit all of your belongings into the locker systems that we have at our test centers, and then be ready for the test well in time. Also, there will be some administrative formalities in terms of reading out of rules and regulations by the test administrator, which you have to understand and agree to. So please make sure that you are well in time to go through all of these procedures. Now, some security checks will be conducted at our test centers. So something like a palm vein scan, which is a very unique feature to our bodies. And, that's the way we secure everybody's identities who take the PTE examination. We also take electronic signatures, and your passport would need to be checked. Please make sure that you carry a valid passport and your name does not mismatch with the name with which you have booked the test. So ensure that all of the problems are out of your way. If you run into a problem, if you notice a discrepancy, please get in touch with the customer support team that we have established to support you with such problems, and get them out of the way well before you go for the test. Also, your workstation would be decided and allotted to you by the test administrator. So please make sure that you follow the instructions that are given to you. Also, please note that the entire test session and each test taker is monitored throughout the duration of your test through a CCTV camera, right? So no cheating, please. Next slide. Also, this is how a test center looks like, and going from one screen to another, one snapshot to another. In the first snapshot, you're seeing that there is a waiting area, and the test administrator is reading out the rules and regulations to one of the test takers, which he needs to accept before going for the examination. You also see a palm vein scan being done, which is a very secure feature to ensure the identity of a test taker. You see a lady, keeping her belongings in the locker. You are not allowed to take any personal belongings to the testing station. You've got to deposit everything in the locker assigned to you. Please rest assured that all of your belongings are completely safe, and they'll be safely handed over back to you once your examination is done. You can also see a picture of a test administrator, towards the bottom left of the screen, where the test administrator is monitoring all the test takers, sitting at her desk through the CCTV cameras, and also through the mirror that exists between the test takers and the test administrator. And this is how the testing stations look like. They are semi-cubicles. You will be allotted independent testing stations. You will have your own headset. Also, one of the queries that I keep receiving from the market is about the speaking examination, that people get disturbed while others are speaking at the same time. Please do not worry about that. There are adequate measures in place to ensure that your recording is the one that is assessed for you. So please ensure that you concentrate only on your testing, your speaking examination. Speak as naturally as possible as you would speak into a microphone or a phone when talking to a friend or a colleague. And I think you'll be fine. In the current pandemic situation, please also note that you will be required to wear a mask during the speaking session. But we have done research, and there are no impact on your speaking scores due to wearing of mask. So nothing to worry there. Just be confident. Take a deep breath before you give the examination, and do well. You will score well. This is where my presentation ends, and I'm going to hand over to your main presenter for the day, who's going to be very helpful to you today. Daria, over to you now.
Thank you very much, Amit. And as he said, you've got to get into that mindset of calm, take a deep breath, and really, have confidence and think about what you're doing and your questions. So I'm going to take you through a few different areas, things that you need to think about, tips that can help you in achieving the scores that you need. Just going to get moving to the next slide. Okay, so when you decide to take a PTE academic test, there are a few basic steps and things that you need to think about. So here we go. The first thing you need to think about is finding out the scores that you need to achieve. So there's no point in taking a test if you don't know what scores you're aiming for. So you can head to our website, have a look at the institutions that accept PTE academic scores. Like Amit said, there are lots of different institutions that you can apply to. So you find the institution, find out what score they require, and that's what you're trying to achieve. You need to understand the test basics. like how to book a test, what you need to do on test day, all those little steps like the 30 minutes early and bringing your valid passport or ID and making sure your name matches your registration on your booking. So all those really little things you need to understand before taking your test. You need to think about understanding the test format and scoring, and that's what we're really going to focus on today. You have to try and think about, well, how close am I to those scores that I need to achieve? Am I at the right level? Is it going to take me maybe a couple of weeks to prepare, or do I need a little bit longer? Am I aiming a little bit further down the road? So that's what you really need to think about, like how achievable is your goal? And that leads to preparation and booking. So the preparation and booking side kind of, depends on the person. You might decide to book your test first and then prepare, or you might think to prepare first and then book when you're ready. So all of these kinds of things can work interchangeably, but altogether you need to think about all of these things before you take your test. So we're focusing on the test structure, and we're going to have a look at a few different items. So this is how PTE is as a whole. The test is completed in one single session in a test centre in front of a computer. So on a computer, beginning to end. It comes in 3 parts. We start with the speaking and writing, and then we move on to the reading section of the test. There's an optional 10-minute break where you can have a little bit of a break, go and drink some water, visit the bathroom, but you can't leave the test centre. You have to get back to the testing room and back to your workstation within those 10 minutes. And then the final part is the listening section of the test. So that's about 40 to 57 minutes. So overall, the test is approximately 3 hours. So you can see there, I've listed the item types. So these are the question types that come within the test. So overall, there are 20 different item types or question types, depending on how you think about them. So they cover a whole range of different areas. So the first one, for example, is read aloud. And when you're in the reading section, you might have to do read or a paragraph. So all of these questions will be presented to you. The really great thing about PTE Academic is that it has integrated scoring. So even though you might be in the speaking section, you're actually being scored on multiple skills. So like that question I've got there, repeat sentence, it's been highlighted. That's a question where you're listening and you're speaking. So in that question, you're actually scored in 2 skill areas. Same thing for the very last question in the test called write from dictation. You listen and you write. So you're scored in both of those areas. So integrated scoring is really great, and it gives you a lot of opportunity to achieve the scores that you need. The other great thing about PTE is that it has authentic content. So all of the questions in the test, all of the reading text, all of the audio, they are real. They exist in the world somewhere. They're real academic texts and audio. So they haven't been created specifically for this test. So it's not a dialogue that's been created for a test. It's something that you would see at a university when you're studying. The other thing that I should mention is the variety of accents. So you might hear someone like me, I'm Australian. You might hear someone who's British, American, or a non-native English speaker as well. You will hear a variety of people, and that's exactly what happens in the real world. So we're going to focus on 3 questions today. We're going to have a look at them in a little bit more depth. So the first one is that repeat sentence question type. So when you're in a test center and you're taking your test, you'll be on a computer, not like a laptop, but on a real computer with a desktop, and you'll see the question in front of you as you do now. You have the instructions, and it will tell you what to do. So for this question, it says you will hear a sentence. Repeat the sentence exactly as you hear it. You will hear the sentence only once. So it's really important that you familiarize yourself with these types of questions so you're not surprised when you get to the test. And then we have 2 little boxes. One tells you when the audio is going to begin, and then one tells you when the microphone is going to open. So you have to pay close attention to these 2 boxes. So this question is actually scored on listening and speaking, as I mentioned. So it contributes to both of those areas. And the types of things that you need to think about when you're completing a question like this is you really need to listen carefully. You need to be able to hold that sentence in your mind in order to be able to speak to it. You need to use appropriate language, appropriate pronunciation, and you have to speak fluently. So you can't speak really quickly and you can't speak really slowly. You have to keep a nice natural pace. So it's really important. So we're going to try one of these right now. So I want you to listen really carefully, and I'm going to play the audio for you so you can have a go at home. Okay, I hope you heard that. I'm going to play it one more time just because I'm very kind, but in the test you hear it only once. I'll play it again. So that woman said newspapers are supported primarily by the sale of advertising space. So it's not a very short sentence, but it's not also very long. It's something you have to keep in your mind in order to repeat it. And one thing that's really, really important, you don't have to copy the person's accent. So she was speaking with an Australian accent, but you don't have an Australian accent, so you don't need to mimic her. You just need to repeat the words clearly, so it's easily understood. Moving on to question 2, reorder paragraph. So this is our reading question, and we have the instructions at the top. So it says, a text box in the left panel have been placed in random order. Restore the original order by dragging the text box from the left panel to the right panel. So you need to move these little jumbled pieces, pull them across and move them into the target box, and you need to put them back into the correct order. So really, really test your reading skills. So I'm going to give you a go at this. So if you have a look at this text, I'm going to give you maybe just about a minute to have a look and have a read of it. So I want you to try and think about what the correct order is. Does it go 2, 3, 1, 4 or 4, 2, 3, 1? Have a read. See if you can figure it out. Okay, I hope you had enough time to have a quick read. So let's have a look at the correct answer. So there we go. So this question is scored only for reading. So it's a single skill score. So no integration for this one. And what types of skills does this require? Well, you really have to understand how a text is structured, how it begins, what happens in the middle, and what happens at the end. And you also have to understand how grammar functions and how texts are linked to each other, how words and phrases link within a text. So for example, if you're looking at this paragraph, the first sentence says, Dr. Byron has long held that there is a link between diet and acne. So it begins with an independent sentence. So it's your opening sentence. We introduce ourselves to the character Dr. Byron. So the second sentence, he convinced Professor Fitzgerald. So the second one, it could not be the first sentence. We do not start a paragraph with he convinced. We need to know who this person is. We need to know that Dr. Byron is he. And then we talk about Professor Fitzgerald, who did a study. The study documented women and their diets. And the final sentence is the conclusion. So no link was found between acne and traditionally suspect foods such as chocolate and chips. So you really have to find these links. So the words like he or they or this or that, or if something says the and then So these are things that connect our sentences together and create a structure for a paragraph. So this is the kind of thing that you can try and practice at home. Maybe you can get an article from a newspaper, chop it up, and then try and put it back together. Here's the last one that we're going to have a look at today. It's called highlight incorrect word. So we have the instructions at the top. You will hear a recording. Below is a transcription of the recording. So the transcription is the words. Some words in the transcription differ from what the speaker said. Please click on the words that are different. So in the test center, you'll be able to look and you'll be able to click on the words. And once you click on the word, it highlights it. So for this item, it's scored on listening and reading because you're listening to that text, but you're also looking at the text in front of you and you have to read it essentially. So it's an integrated task. So I'm going to try and do this with everybody. So I want you to have a look. Hopefully you can see it clearly. I know it's a little bit small, but I'm going to play the audio and I want you to look at the words and think which ones aren't correct, which ones don't match the audio. So let's have a listen.
Daria, we are not able to hear the audio.
Right, that's what I wanted to say.
Sorry, does the sound not come out?
No.
Oh, that's so very unfortunate. I'm really sorry. Sorry that didn't work. I wonder if it's my audio isn't loud enough. Anyway, we'll move on. But hopefully, if you could head to the PTE website, you'll be able to see some examples of these types of questions, and you can have a listen to the audio and look at the videos that we've created. So, if you could hear the audio, you would have heard that, for example, in the first sentence, the person says there reflects a fundamental rift, but in the audio, it said shift. So you have to find that difference, and they're really, really small differences. At one point, he said manufactured something, and here it says everything. So you need to click on that word. So what types of skill does this item require? It's not easy to read and listen at the same time. You're doing two things, so you really have to have that concentration to be able to pick up on those errors because they're very small errors. It's almost there to trick you in a way. So you really have to pick them up. You have to identify words in connected speech. So you have to see how these word chunks work together, and you need to find the errors. So even looking at the text and reading it, you may not be able to pick up on the mistakes. It really takes that audio to do that. And a really, really good tip for this item, within the text, there will only ever be a maximum of 7 mistakes. So if you're there and you're not sure and you're thinking, is that one a mistake? Is it not a mistake? If you count up what you have and you've got 10, then it's too many. Okay, so a maximum of 7 mistakes within the text. A few things that you should also consider. I mentioned this earlier at the beginning, the scores that you need to achieve. So it's really important for you to think about what am I trying to achieve? Am I looking to study at a university? Do they require a score around a PTE 50? Am I going to a college? Do they require a score around 40? Am I applying for a PR visa in Australia, for example, or a skilled migration visa in Australia? You're looking for a really advanced score, something up here, or if you're applying to be a nurse, for example, you might need something like a 65. So you need to think about what these levels represent. And therefore, it's really important for you to know what your language level is. Are you a beginner? Are you an intermediate English speaker, or are you an advanced English speaker? And if you're not sure about where your skills lie, you can head to a website called English Marketplace. It's a free Pearson website. It's just at english.com. It's a really easy website to remember. And we actually have a free diagnostic test. And there are some really useful free English lessons on the site as well. So I'd suggest heading there. The next thing is, once you know the scores you need to achieve and your level of English, you need to think about the time to prepare. So if you're actually going from, say, a level like A2, something around the 30s, and you're trying to move up to an intermediate level, this can take many, many hours. For a slow learner, it could be, up to, say, 300 hours, but for a fast learner, it could be up to 300 hours. For a slow learner, it could be up to 1,000 hours. So it does take time, to go from something from here to, say, here, it takes time. But to go for a few different places, if you're going a few scores, if you're really close, it can take less time. But it's just something to be really mindful of. Okay, understanding PTE Academic scoring. So we're talking about knowing your scores. This is what you receive once you complete a PTE Academic test. You get a score report. And our score reports give you an overall score and 4 communicative skill scores. So that's listening, reading, speaking, and writing. And you see the number there. The PTE Academic scoring scale goes from 10 to 90. So 90 is the highest that we report. So, you may receive something in between 10 to 90. For your overall and the 4 core skills, and those 4 core skills are what institutions set. So you have to look for those scores. PTE scores, once you complete a test, they're typically available in 2 days, sometimes even faster. I've heard about test takers who will test in the morning and they receive their scores in the evening. So it can be really fast. And that's because we use AI and automated scoring for all components of the test. You've also got some additional skills. They're called enabling skills. And these are just little skill areas. They really relate to speaking and writing. And they're there for you, for the test taker. They're there for you to think about, what's my strength and what's my weakness? So institutions don't look at those scores. It's just for you. PTE scores are valid for 2 years from when you take the test. And we also align to other tests and we align to the common European framework. So you can kind of see how you compare. One thing that I would highly recommend to all test takers, to anyone who's thinking about taking PTE, is to look at our score guide. So you get your score report and you think, okay, how did I get those scores? What does that relate to? And even before you take your test, I would say go to the score guide first, because it will give you lots of really important information about the test structure, about the item types, and what kinds of areas each question is scored on. So it's free and it's on our website. The 20 question types in PTE are scored on a few different areas. So some questions are scored on correctness. So this means, is your response right or wrong? For example, a multiple choice question, there's only one correct answer. Some other questions are assessed on formal aspects, and these are things like the length of the response. There is one question for writing where you have to summarize some writing and you need to create one sentence. So that's a formal aspect. Is your response one sentence? Is your essay between 200 and 300 words, or is your essay 500 words? And if it's 500 words, then it's not assessed. It needs to meet that formal requirement. And lastly, and really importantly, your responses are marked on the quality of your response. So, to what degree is your content, is your writing, is your speaking? How is your pronunciation? How is the vocabulary that you use? What kinds of words did you choose? So that's the quality of your response. So that's really, really important. And for some questions, you can get partial credit. So for example, like that question we just looked at, the highlight incorrect word, you could get 2 or 3 correct, and that's okay. You don't need to get everything correct. Okay, so it's good. It gives you lots of opportunity to find or to gain points throughout the test. Here's an example of one question. The instructions are there. It's a retail lecture question. So you listen to a lecture, and as you're listening, you take notes. And then after you've taken notes, the microphone opens and you have to give a summary of the lecture. So for this item, there's integrated scoring. So you're being assessed on your listening and your speaking. If you look at the score guide that we have, it gives you more of a breakdown of, well, you're scored for listening and speaking, but what makes up the listening and speaking? What qualities, what skills do I need to focus on? So for this question, you're scored on the content first. So what did you say in your retell? Did you provide an accurate summary? So the content. If you said nothing, or if you spoke in another language, or you talked about going to the cinema, then you get 0, because the topic of going to the cinema, if it doesn't match what you actually heard, then it's completely off topic. So that's really important. Content is the first area. Next, you're marked on your oral fluency. So this is the speed of the rhythm and the speed of your speech. Did you and ah? Did you speak really quickly or really slowly? So that's really important. And then the pronunciation. How did you say the words? Could somebody understand all of the words that you spoke? Is your pronunciation clear? So all of those 3 things then add to your total item score. And that goes towards your communicative skills, and it goes towards your overall skills. And as you can see, it doesn't just go to 1 skill, it goes to 2 skills. So that's something to be really mindful of when you're taking PTE. So like I said, it's really important to know what each skill and trait is being tested in each question. For example, repeat sentence. If you're doing a repeat sentence question, you're assessed on the content, pronunciation, and fluency, like the one we just spoke about. If we look specifically at one area, and I hope that we're going to be able to listen to this audio. I put this audio in here, and I'm not sure if people are going to be able to hear it. I'm just going to play it, and if you can't hear it, can you let me know?
No, dear.
No.
Okay, in that case, so let me just explain. When the question is assessed for content, so that means all of the words within the sentence. If you look at the scoring model, if you repeat all of the words in the sentence in the correct sequence, in the correct order, then you get the maximum points. If you repeat 50% of the words, then you get 2. If you repeat less than 50%, then you get 1. If you heard it and you can't remember anything and you say nothing, you get 0. And then each of those skill areas is assessed separately. So one response is first assessed for content, and then it's assessed for pronunciation, and then it's assessed for fluency. So it's almost assessed 3 times in order to get 1 score for 1 question. I'm not going to play you those prompts. I'm not sure why they didn't work, but we'll move on. It's also really important for you to try and reflect on your performance. So you need to think about when you do practice items, if you're working by yourself or if you're working with a friend, it's a really great idea to have a look at some of these practice items. We have a whole range of resources, which I'll talk about in a moment, that you can use to practice. And when you do practice, a great thing is to record yourself. So if you record yourself, you can, do the item, take a bit of a 5-10 minute break after you do it, come back and have a listen to your performance. And we have these checklist type things. And this actually comes from one of our resources called the Official Guide. And they're easy to create, or they're easy to find. And you can have a think about your performance. You know, did you do this or did you do that? Did you use appropriate pronunciation? Did you use an opening sentence? Did you speak at a normal, regular pace? Again, were you speaking quickly or were you speaking slowly? Because we don't want anything too fast or too slow. We want a really regular pace, like a conversational pace. So those are the things that you kind of have to ask yourself, those types of questions. And a really great way to kind of, again, see how the scoring works, how the test works, is by taking a scored practice test. And this will give you a really indication of your scoring. So these are practice tests that you can purchase online and you can take them at home. And once you complete the test, you'll get a mock score report. So this will kind of mimic the real PTE test experience, and you can see whether your scores are close to what you're trying to achieve. Because you want to know if you're close to that score before you decide to take the real test. And it's a great way to do it at home. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about preparing. The scored practice test is one thing you can do, but there are plenty of other things that you can do. So we have a whole range of free resources. I would definitely suggest going to our website, pearsonpte.com. Some of the things that you'll find is we have a free app. You can download the app. It has a study planner. So you can say, I'm taking PTE in 4 weeks' time, and I want to do lots of preparation, and it'll give you a question to do every day. We have the score guide. Like I said, it's a really good guide for you to have a look at and really understand each question. We have some tips, like similar to the tips that I gave you today. We have a tip guide, so you can download the guide and read through all of those tips. And we have some free online courses as well. Some other kinds of questions that you can ask yourself, again, is how long do you have to prepare? Are you doing an intensive 2 weeks? Are you just really preparing a lot for 2 weeks? Or are you thinking, I've got about 2-3 months, I can take a little bit longer? Do you like to do self-study? Are you going to focus on just studying alone, or is it better to study with a friend or to join a class? And do you like to study on a computer, or are you the kind of person that likes to pick up a book and you like to really have something in front of you so you can take notes? So really, everyone has a different study journey. Everyone does studying in their own way. It's quite unique to the individual. So really, you need to decide what's best for you. But I've got a few study journeys here for you. So this student here is thinking, I'm new to PTE. I've tried some other tests and I've heard about PTE, and I want to think about, what do I need to do? Where should I start? So what I would say to that person is, start with the free resources. We have a page on our website called How to Prepare, and it has a lot of information. It tells you what to do first, what to do second, what you can do to improve. So check out that page. It's a really good place to go to first. And also we have a free course, like I mentioned. This one is Introduction to PTE Academic. It's actually hosted by Jay from E2 Language. So he knows everything about PTE. So it's a great place to familiarize yourself with those question types and see how Jay or how you could approach them. So I actually had a video, but I'm not going to play the video because I don't think the sound's going to work. So I'm just going to move on. Let's move on. So another student might say, "Oh, I find it difficult to study on a computer." I mean, that's an interesting question or an interesting statement, because you think about PTE, it's a computer-based test. But if you find it difficult to study on a computer, what I would suggest is trying a bit of a blended approach. So, we do have course books, and this one is the official guide to PTE. But, you can use this to study from, but I like the idea of also doing some practice on a computer. And with this resource, you actually get access to an online module. So there are additional questions, a question bank actually, that you can use to practice on the computer. There are some videos that come with it. So that way you can kind of get the best of both worlds. And I think if you're taking a computer-based exam, you do need to have some practice of typing the responses. So think about doing both things. Some learners say, oh, I did a practice test at home, I did really well, but I didn't do very well in speaking. I really want to improve my speaking. How can I do this? My suggestion is try our other free course. So we have another free speaking course, and this was made by a university in Australia called Macquarie University. So they created a free course on a website called FutureLearn. So anyone can access this, and it really focuses on how to improve your pronunciation, your fluency, your sentence stress, your word stress, your intonation, how you can improve some of the content of what you say and the quality of what you say. So I think it's a really great course, and I think we've had about, I think we're about 8,000 people have joined already, so it's pretty good. And another thing that you can do is try that question bank. So go onto the question bank, try those speaking questions, record yourself and listen back to your recordings. And sometimes, unfortunately, this happens, you try, you've tested a few times and you just can't get the scores you need. And I understand how this happens. And personally, I used to be an English teacher as well. So I experience, students in class who take a test and you expected to do very well and you didn't quite get there. And it's not a great feeling, but there are things that you can do to try and improve. I'd say the first thing is think about joining a class. Sometimes you need that teacher there to give you the feedback. You might be thinking, oh, I think I did everything. I think I spoke really clearly. But the teacher might listen and go, oh, actually, you spoke quite fast. And because you spoke fast, I couldn't understand what you were saying. So getting feedback from a teacher is really important. And if there are any teachers or any tutors out there, we actually have a product called Pearson Classroom. And this is a dedicated test prep platform. So this is a platform that teachers can use with their students to do PTE preparation. It's a really great platform, and if you want to know more, just feel free to get in touch. And the last thing I've got down there is one other thing. Sometimes when you've been preparing a lot, you think you're doing all the right things, but you may not have some of those skills that you need to actually complete the item, or you may not have realized parts of that task that you're doing incorrectly. So if you go to a product called PTE Academic English Booster, it kind of goes through all those little skills that you need to improve or complete in order to achieve that task. So again, that kind of item, it's back to basics. It might take you a little while to get through, but hopefully once you learn more about developing your English skills and not just your English skills, but your academic English skills, it can really help achieve the scores that you need. Last one. This I hear quite often. I actually hear it often from native English speakers. They say, oh, my English is pretty high. I speak English every day. I don't think I need to prepare. I'm just going to take the test. Well, my answer to that is, should I prepare? Yes, everybody should prepare. It doesn't matter who you are. Taking a test is hard, especially if you don't know what to expect. So everybody should really familiarize themselves. Have a look on the website, look at those free videos, understand what's coming, because when you see a question pop up and you don't know what to do, or you're a little bit surprised, you lose time. So you want to be as prepared as you can be. And I always recommend taking a scored practice test because I think that gives you the real run through of what to expect. So if you're taking PTE, don't forget a few things. You really should understand the format of the test and the scoring. So try those item types, have a look at the score guide. You need to take time to prepare. If you have 2 weeks, you can do more intensive preparation. If you've got 2 months, you can slow things down, but really do take the time to prepare. And always go to our website, Pearson PTE, and also follow us. We have some great videos and tips and things that we post on our Instagram page. It's really good, and Facebook. So just follow us. You'll see lots of interesting things. Okay, I think we're on to questions. Perfect. How are we going?
Thank you so much, Diria and Amit, for such a knowledgeable presentation. We are now moving towards the Q&A session. The first question the student is asking, how can I prepare for PT exam? Can I study at home and get good marks?
Well, I would say it really depends on the scores you're trying to achieve. For some people, self-study is enough. If you think, I would say try that scored practice test, because then you know how close you might be to the scores you want to achieve. And if you think you're quite close, then just keep with the self-study. That could be enough for you.
Thank you. The next question. Which is the most hard or difficult part in a PTE exam in which students score less?
So which is, sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, which is the most hard and difficult part in a PTE exam in which students score less?
I think that's a real individual question. It really depends. Everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. So some people might go, writing is really difficult for me. I'm not great, I'm not good at summarizing. But others, might say it's speaking. Speaking is more difficult for them. And some people even say, actually listening is hard because listening comes at the end of the test. I'm already a little bit tired. So I find that most challenging. But honestly, it's really individual. Not everyone has the same weaknesses.
Thank you, Diria. The next question, is PTE eligible if we file PR for other country?
Okay, I can take that one. So it really depends on which country you're applying for. So if you're applying for, say, Australia or New Zealand, we are completely accepted for all PR, applications. If you're applying to UK, we've got 100% acceptance in the UK for PR. And there are various other countries. So it really depends on which country you are applying for. I think it's best to visit our website and see where we are accepted. Or you could let me know the country that you have in mind, and I can give you an answer. I hope that answers.
Thank you, Amit. The next question, do we get any practice test book once we sign up for the test?
We don't send out a practice test specifically to people once they book, but if you head to the website, we have a whole bunch of additional resources. So it's just a matter of going to the site, having a look at what's there. Like I said, there are those free courses that we offer. We have an offline test that people can download and have a look at a few sample items. So they're available, but you have to go and find them.
Can I quickly add something here?
Yeah, sure.
Derek, right? So in the My PTE account, the account that you create to book the test, you will find a list of resources that you could, purchase and use for preparation and practice. So
yeah,
that's a good place to
that.
Yeah.
Good thinking.
Thank you, Amit and Diria. The next question is similar to this question only. The student is asking, can we get a mock test so that we know the kind of questions we'll get? I think it is the same answer.
Yeah, and I mean, our practice tests are a fraction of the cost of the real test. So taking a practice test is really worthwhile. I hear stories sometimes about people who say, I took my first test as a practice. So they paid the full price of the full test as a practice. So buying that practice test is much better.
Thank you, Diria. The next question, is PT exam difficult as compared to IELTS exam?
I mean, again, it really depends. It's hard to compare. Everybody has different things that appeal to them, that they're better at doing. Some people might say, I prefer talking to an interview style speaking test. I want to talk to someone. And other people might say, I don't want to talk to someone. I'm happy to talk to a computer. They're different tests. They have different challenges. It's really about finding the right test for you. And then maybe PTE, but I don't think one of them is easier than the other.
Right. Just a small bit of addition here as well, Jara. Please don't mind.
No, go for it.
IELTS is absolutely a brilliant examination, and so is PTE. PTE is the most contemporary examination, so to say, because it is the only examination right now that uses artificial intelligence. So we take away the human intervention, right? So it's the most unbiased test that way. Coming back, circling back to your original question that, how difficult or easy it is. I think both the tests compare in terms of their difficulty level at a certain score point. However, PTE would probably give you a little more advantage in terms of being able to present your communication skills by the variety of question types that are presented to you. Say within the reading section or a listening section, you'll be presented with more question types in one test attempt as compared to other examinations.
That's true. That is true. And it's hard to sometimes make that differentiation. But yeah, we do give test takers really multiple opportunities. One question doesn't have one set level. You're given like kind of a variety of things. There might be some easier options and some more difficult ones. But with integrated scoring, you're right, there is a lot of opportunity to really demonstrate your skills.
Thank you, Diria and Amit. The next question. Please tell if there is any changes in the PTE Academic exam pattern or any updated question pattern for 2022.
Nothing to report at the moment. I mean, the test is continually being developed. Our test development team always looks at, how the test is performing, but we haven't made any changes as yet, really. There are new questions that are constantly being created. So that process is continual. New items are being developed. Some items might be taken out. It's just a constant pattern, really.
Thank you. The next question. Please tell, is PTE better than IELTS? Again, the same question.
I think we're biased. We work for Pearson, so we have to say yes.
Okay, the next question. How many times can I appear for PTE exam if I score less in first go?
There's no limit to how many times you can take the test. But honestly, I think if you've taken it a couple of times and you're not scoring, not achieving the scores you need, you really have to reassess and think, what do I need to do to achieve those scores? I mean, we don't want to see people taking the test 10 times, that's too much. But really think about, what do you need to do to achieve your scores? We want you to achieve that score that you're desiring, really. But there's no limit. You can register as many times. You just have to take your test, get your results. And once you have your results, it's up to you whether you want to book in for a new test.
Thank you, Diria. The next question. How much do we have to score in order to clear the PTE exam?
Okay, I can take that one, Diria, if you want, right? So it really depends on the university and the program that you're applying for. You might want to check the country, say, for example, in case of UK, you'll have to go to the university's website, figure out which program you are applying for, which university, what's the score requirement on their website. If you have any questions, reach out to the international office and they'll be happy to answer any questions you have in terms of what scores you need, right? So it really depends from university to university and programs to programs. You'll have to do a bit of research or reach out to somebody who might be able to help you with that information.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great point. Always go to that university website, because the university's website is the definitive information. Whether you're taking a bachelor's degree or you're doing a certificate, or if you're doing a law degree, it's all variations of scores that are accepted.
Thank you. The next question. What is the success rate of visa with PTE exam?
Okay, once again, I could take it. Dara, please.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, sure. So in case of UK, we are accepted for UK visa and immigration. So we've got a UK VI acceptance. So you've got 100% success rate if you meet all the other criteria. So if your application is in correct order, if all of your other requirements are met, and then you submit your application with a PTE score, you will have 100% acceptance. Dara, if you would like to add something to it.
No, I think you covered that one.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question. Is PTE equivalent to IELTS?
Yeah, so if an institution accepts IELTS and if they also accept PTE, sometimes what you might see is they'll say, these are the tests we accept, and these are the scores, and they'll have like a comparison table. So they might accept, you know, PTE 6 and then the IELTS 6 band and the PTE, I think it's like 55. So you'll see the comparisons there, and you'll just have to check.
Thank you so much, Daria and Amit, for such a knowledgeable presentation. We are now done with the Q&A session. I have covered all the questions from the chat box. Thank you so much for answering all the questions so well. To all the audience, if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact our SIUK India offices. We'll be more than happy to help you. We are now moving towards the towards the end of this seminar. I would request if you would have anything else to put forward for the students or the audience who are watching us right now.
So it's been a really, please, sorry, Daria, please go.
No, you can.
Okay, I was just saying it's been thank you so much, Deepika and SIUK team for inviting me and Daria to this session. It was wonderful interacting and listening to some really good questions there. And I think I thoroughly enjoyed the session. Over to you, Daria.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. I really appreciate, you know, having the time to be able to talk to everybody and give you some ideas and tips on what to think about when you're preparing. Always take the time to prepare, and hopefully you achieve those goals.
Thank you so much all for your valuable time today. To all the audiences also, thank you so much for joining us today and spending your valuable time with us today. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. All the best.